It was because they're wanting to come in
Thanks for doing the air, Alan. It
instead of
feels
here,
nice.
or they want to come in as MLC.
Okay, it's 7 o'clock. I'd like to call this meeting to order. Ask everyone to stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, roll call.
Sarah? Here. Eric?
Here.
Jay?
Here.
Audrea? Here. Ross?
Yes.
Nancy?
Okay. Everyone on council should have received a copy of the March 3rd, 2025 council meeting minutes. Are there any corrections or additions to those minutes?
Make a motion.
I have a motion by Nancy to accept the minutes as distributed. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Audrea. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passed. All of you should have received a copy of the March 17th, 2025 Committee of the Whole meeting minutes. Any corrections or additions?
Motion.
I have a motion by Eric to accept the minutes as distributed. Is there a second? Second by Jay. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We have one abstention.
She wasn't here.
Sister. Motion passed. Move on down to administrative reports. I have nothing to report at this time. We'll move to the village solicitor.
Nothing to report at this time.
Police chief.
Only thing I'll comment on is we have a new officer that started. Started actually last Monday, so this is the second week going in. So you'll probably see a different officer that you all haven't seen before out and about. He'll be on second shift this week. We'll be rotating him around through shifts so he learns what goes on at all hours.
Do you have a name?
Yes, it's Lucas Forte.
Anybody have
Yeah.
anything else for the chief?
How many in total does that give us now?
That puts us back up to 8. So I've got one position to hire. I've already interviewed one officer. I'm doing another interview this week on Friday to get the 9th position filled.
I also had something, a lot lately over at Walker Point where I live. There have been more break-ins and a car stolen. You guys patrolling that more? I kind of wanted to get your take on what you guys are doing about the rise in that in our community, just so the people in my neighborhood can know.
Yeah, so there was one vehicle that was stolen. There was 2 attempts. The vehicle that was stolen was actually recovered. It was found over in Foxfire where it was abandoned. They both were Kias, and Hyundai seems to be the vehicle that people are wanting to take right now. So just the only thing I'd suggest is people, lock them up. Cameras, that's like the best thing you can do on protecting your property and stuff right now. That I'd recommend to anybody. On our end, there's been just at night shift, they've been trying to pay more attention
Okay,
to that as much as they can.
thanks. Just that reassurance helps.
Anything else for the chief?
No, sir.
Okay, thank you, sir. Village administrators report.
Over here. Now,
I was gonna say, I don't even see it.
okay, I'm fine. It's been very brief tonight. Just to let you know, the water and wastewater plant both are under capacity. We still have quite a bit of capacity, both of them. Good news is the new wastewater treatment plant started up toward the end of this month. It's been a long time coming, almost 2 years. We're getting to this point. Hope to get it started up, go through a few things, and then probably a week or so after that, we'll start actually running sewage through the plant. So getting real close. That thing is up to 1 million gallons a day of capacity. And just another bit of information, I've had several calls from land perspective, people interested in Commercial Point for development. Nothing specific. They just want to call and ask about it. So I give them just general information about capacity, but just so council is aware, there's a lot of interest in the village Commercial Point right now, from all different sources. That being said, any questions council might have, or?
I actually do have a question about
Okay.
Walker Point. When all the trees were cleaned up along the creek,
Yes.
I know that there's some people who have a lot of cleanup that's back there. And I think that you said that they were gonna come back and do that, if I remember right. Did they ever do that?
Yes, they have not done yet, but with the help of council, we did buy some new equipment. We do have a skid loader that has the proper equipment on it, and Mike will be out doing that. He tried to do it the other day. It's just so,
Muddy, yeah.
if you notice, if you drive down Walker Road, look over, he's got a pile right there. And he'll pick all that up and go up and down this and do the final cleaning on it. So it's not done yet.
Okay.
And we got the equipment to do it, and Mike's very capable of it. Go in there now and just destroy everything.
Okay.
So you can let the residents know, they give you a call if they want, to let them know that it's not done yet. We'll be back.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Have we paid that company? It's my understanding we weren't going to pay them until they finish the job.
They've done everything that we've asked them to do. I think they've been paid, and Mike is going to do the final touch-up. Yeah,
When the weather gets a little nicer, can you maybe give us
oh, sure.
a timeline?
Yeah,
We don't want
absolutely.
it to be sitting there all summer, because it is a big ice.
Mike's been out here trying to do it. He's got this new toy that was got to use it and get it cleaned up, so
Okay,
it'll be done, absolutely.
Okay.
But I'll keep counting.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Does anybody else have anything for our administrator at this time?
John, are you getting more calls for commercial interest or residential when people call for bringing commercial
In
points?
general, a lot of them are just general comments. I'm interested in some land down around the village. Can you tell me about what's going on? And of course, they're interested in utilities.
Mhm.
Utilities kind of dictate where development's gonna go. General questions, they have not told me residential or commercial.
Okay.
Just interest.
Okay, thank you, John. Appreciate it. Moving on, up next, village engineers report.
I'll be quick, but I'll come here so you can hear
Thank
me. Let's see, starting with Borer Road and the sidewalk extension. So we were actually out last week. We walked the site, looking for any kind of red flags or high ticket cost items. We'll work on the exhibit cost estimate this week. Hope to get something to you, I'd say in the next week or two for review. Belshazzar roadway improvements. I'm actually looking at a preliminary layout of that right now. So once I've done my review, I can share that with the village and gather any additional comments on that layout. Rickenbacker Exchange, the industrial park, we did have a pre-con meeting April 3rd last week. That would be for lot 10. That's one of Skinnell's lots. They're looking to start in July. And they're actually starting with the storm sewer. So we'll have a storm crossing under 104. It'll be bored, not open cut, so no disruption to traffic. And then also on the west side of 104, that's where the transfer basin. So you'll see a large pond being built when the storm takes it over to the creek. And they thought that would take till probably about September. So you'll see some movement over there in the industrial park. And then also the Taze Valley parking lot expansion. Council approved the major site plan for that project. They submitted a stormwater document last week, so we're looking at that now. Everything's good. That should be able to move forward here this summer. Any questions for me?
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you.
Steve.
Up next is our zoning administrator's report.
Yeah, building's pretty rapid right now. Projects are going up pretty good. As you go across, it looks like they're gonna be just about built out. Lots of that much. The other issues as far as what's happening in the village, I have very little problems with complaints anymore, very little problems with violations. They seem to be doing real well as customers and residents of the village.
Okay, does anybody have anything for the zoning administrator at this time? Thanks, Jim.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Fiscal officer's report. Does anybody have anything for our fiscal officer? Okay, thank you. We'll move on down to legislative reports. Nancy,
I don't have anything.
Ross,
Nothing.
Sarah,
Nothing.
Eric.
Yeah, with the legislation that's coming up tonight, before most of these people talk, while I was doing my due diligence.
Eric, can you speak up a little? The air conditioners.
Yeah. While I was doing my due diligence for the Addison Farms project, I checked their numbers, and it appears that they still are not under the 4 per acre If one of the, I didn't see any of the representatives, but if they're here, I wanted to give them time to check my numbers, and I have them at 4.83 per acre using the net buildable area. And they agreed to be under 4. I don't know if that's just a mistake or if they didn't read our code and understand what the net was. But it's something I'd like to address with you before the vote, because 4 was what we were hard on and what your attorneys agreed to.
We actually lost 2 lots.
Yeah, but is this in discussion time, right?
No.
Right. Okay. I mean, we'll talk about it before the vote, but I just want to give you a heads up that you're not under the 4, and our net is minus roads and open space. And if I take that out, it's 71.2 buildable acres with 344 homes, which puts us at 4.83. So just those people that are going to talk have that in their mind, and so you have it in your mind so that you can address that with us before the mandated vote tonight.
So what can you give me those 2 numbers?
Yeah, you had 110 buildable acres. If you take out the approximate 10 acres of roads and the 28.8 of open, that leaves you a 71.2 net buildable acres. You're putting 344 units. If you do that math, it comes out to 4.83 units per acre, which puts you over our 4 unit per acre. And that's the reason it was put on hold back in November, is because you were over the 4. And you guys said you would get it to back under 4. Your numbers, what you guys did was you took out, I tried to get your numbers, you took out the 10 acres of roads, but not the open space, which is what our code says is net. So just taking out the 10 acres of roads, you are correct in those erroneous numbers, but in the numbers our code says, you're still over the 4. I don't know if there's a way we can remedy that tonight. If we can put a caveat on the vote that it's okay as long as you come under, that's something I'd have to yield to Bill. But I just wanted to bring it, I thought it was only fair to bring it to your attention before slamming you with it, so you have time while all these people talk to figure out where it went wrong, and is it something you can afford to fix or not?
Yes.
Yeah,
Appreciate it.
absolutely. That's all.
Okay. Andrea?
Nothing at this time.
Jay?
Nothing.
Okay, move on down to committee reports. Parks and Recreation Committee.
Yes, we're finally getting into, well, except for today, warmer weather, hopefully. Our first farmer's market is the first Saturday of May, which is May the 3rd. It's 10 to 1. We'll have a food truck and lots of vendors, lots of new ones. So we invite everybody to come out. It's right behind here in the field. Come and check it out. That's all I have.
Okay. Land Use Committee.
Yeah, I had a talk with the people from MSG today and asked if they had a time frame of a possible dollar amount for what we had asked. And Randy said that they were working on both the basic plan and the, as he said, Cadillac plan. They've stumbled onto some outside funding that they wanted to have all the particulars for to provide to us, and should have something to us within about a week to 10 days. I did finally get a call back from another company, and I'm going to try to set up a meeting with them. They said they're probably 2 to 4 months out. And I will forward to everybody as soon as I get something from MSG, so we can look at those numbers and see the basic plan versus everything, and if it's funding that we're interested in. They did say it's some public funding and private funding to help the village get the most, as they said, quote, bang for our buck. And that's all we have.
Okay, thank you. Okay, we're going to move into the public comments section of the meeting. Public comments, like the public hearing, people will be called up. I ask that you give your name and your address. You'll come up to the podium. You have 5 minutes to address the council. Council will not engage into any conversation. No questions will be answered at this time. This is strictly your time to speak to the council for a maximum of 5 minutes. If you hear people speaking on something and you kind of agree with them, you might want to just say, yeah, I agree with the guy that just spoke, or something like that. We have 13 people signed up, 5 minutes apiece. That's over an hour's worth of public comments. So at this time, I'd like to call Tim Genscher up to the podium, please.
Name and address.
Hi, my name is Tim Genscher. I live at 9065 Boston Harbor Way at Commercial Village in Southern Point. I felt very compelled to come to this meeting tonight. First time I've actually come to a meeting like this to speak out. And I have a lot of things been weighing on my mind for a while, but this really certainly fills into a lot of it. I have large concerns about our current road infrastructure. First off, I've been out here for 15 years, actually almost 20 years, take that back, since I lived at the Village of Southern Point. Since then, a lot of communities have come in. A lot of communities have come in. 0 roads have been improved outside of possibly paving, but expansion-wise, nothing. Absolute nothing. You take all the warehouses that you stuck down on 104 for approval, same thing. You have 2 lanes going outside of that, but nothing. And to me, adding another 409 or 400 whatever houses there in the backside of where I currently live at, which means that sure they may take dirt road, which I'll add in the secondary problem that we have, and that's half of these back roads are barely a 2-car road. So again, going back to expansion, that's my huge concern, is we don't have the infrastructure to support it. And then if you guys are planning on coming back and trying to slap a tax for it, I'm gonna say and throwing that out there as an idea to try to fix it. My question is going to come back to is why wasn't this done in development stages when you were offering out these properties and everything else going out with it, like you guys could have done with as far as like the warehouses, for example. But again, even when you go back, again, taking back on these back roads are very tiny, going all the way through. Half of those even flood and have issues. And even at that, you're still deterring, people around. And to me, that, I just feel like though that truly needs addressed before any thought went into let's put in some sort of a lot somewhere in our community. I'm all for bringing revenue. I'm all for everything else, but you need to have what needs to be there first to make it happen. That's all I got to say. I can release the rest of my time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, up next is Patricia Anderson.
Hello, I'm Patricia Anderson, 282 Arledge Drive, Commercial Point, Ohio. Good evening, my fellow Commercial Point Mayor, City Council, and Chief of Police. Again, my husband Richard and I are here tonight to share our voice in regards to the Addison Farm proposal. Our voices matter. When we built our dream home, we picked Commercial Point so our dollars could grow with our property. We wanted to add value to our home physically and also ensuring what we do with our property benefits our neighbors and ensures their property values increases as well. I am confident my neighbors in Scioto Crossings chose Commercial Point for the same reason. What we did not buy our home for was to be surrounded by an enormous community that will be detrimental to not only Scioto Crossing, but to Commercial Point collectively. We did not sign up for a community that will bring more vehicles through our already stressed streets. We did not sign up for vehicles that could impact walkers, children, and pets at risk coming through our subdivision. We did not sign up for a community to be built that will bring doubling of homes into a crowded green space that will decrease our property value. It's not like the homes we have. We did not sign up for our schools to take on additional students that are already crowded. We did not sign up for our first responders, police, fire, and EMS to have additional workload put on them with the same resources. We did not sign up for our water and sewer to function past capacity. We did not sign up for our small country roads to be turned into busy city streets. We did not sign up for 300 homes to be built in a space that holds half that size. We love living in Commercial Point. I cannot tell you how much I love living in Commercial Point, and we love living in Scioto Crossing. I encourage each council member to vote no. Your constituents matters. Our home matters. Our children matters. Voting no is the right choice. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, up next is Ralph Wolf.
Hi, I'm Ralph Wolf, Southern Point. Also a trustee for Scioto Township. I'm not here on that capacity.
What's your
But I know I'll
address?
be somewhere on May 3rd at 10 a.m. That's a great festival.
What's your address, Rob?
Also,
Address.
Address.
5565D. Well, you've been to my house, Mayor. 5565D. I have 43146. I am Ralph Wolf, not Kyle Wolf, that I believe should be here for the schools because no one's mentioned about the schools and the overcrowdedness, and we're gonna put 300 more homes over in that area. And I agree with everything Ms. Anderson here said, Ms. Anderson, and that's about it. Thank you, guys. Thanks.
Yeah.
My vote is absolute no, by the way. To see y'all very clear.
Okay, up next, we have Angie Angel.
I'm Angie Angel. I'm at 293 Creekview Drive. I live inside of Crossing. I have been here. I was in the second division of Chestnut Estates group there. I've been in Southern Point. Now I'm inside of Crossing. So I've been here a very long time. I've got an issue with that is going in. One, they're going to be right behind my house. I specifically picked that house because there are trees behind me, and there's a goat, and there's a donkey, and I just love it. I'm not going to hear that anymore. I'm going to have all this. We're going to see houses now. I mean, it's nice to put trees at least. You know, it's flooding in our yards from that field. It's going to be even worse there. We have right now on my street alone, which is one of the last streets that was built. We have 4 houses up for sale. They can't get sold. They've been bringing their houses down. We paid $500,000 for our houses. This guy's down to 429. He still can't get sold. He just lowered it again. We have 3 foreclosures in there. One's already sold. One's about to go into foreclosure, and one is on foreclosure in there. It's $455,000. This goes in. These houses go in. We'll walk away. We have property at Tar Hollow. We don't have to stay here. My son graduates next year. I'm done with, being in the school district, but I don't want to leave. I want to stay in Commercial Point. I lived in Harrisburg. I played ball here. I grew up around here. This is the community. We don't know who the builder is going to be. It's after they get the property. I've been going through I've been through a year's worth of council meetings. Once we know we got the property, then we'll do a builder. Well, that's on them. They get the cheapest builder that they can get in there, and then we're in trouble. Let's put slabs down, okay? We have tornadoes out here. Are they gonna put a shelter in there for the people there to make them safe? How much are they gonna sell for? Again, you're putting it up against a $500,000 housing development, and we've even increased the houses over in Southern Point. And I know that because I sold my house and I got a lot more than what I bought it for. The snow removal. You guys can keep up with our snow removal. We've got more houses coming in, and it's not just us. I mean, we've got houses coming in. Walker's Point's putting more in. We've got the 104 and
Foxfire.
well, I know Foxfire, but they're
762 Gibson Road.
yeah, and Gibson Road. They're going in. I mean, there's a lot going in, and then we're looking at this one. They're gonna put townhouses in. I mean, this is kind of ridiculous. I mean, they already state they have on their website. They've already got everything here. Hey, look, we're building in Commercial Point. I didn't know that was approved yet. I know they own the land, but have we approved them to build houses there yet? I mean, they're kind of cocky, is what I think. And I see that they threw in 3 different plans, different ones. Hoping you guys would miss it, but you guys caught it, and it's just getting a little shady. I mean, let's just keep sneaking stuff through the council. You guys are good, you're diligent, you're catching it, but that's wrong. And then their solicitor saying, well, no, we didn't know anything about that. I didn't know there was 3 plans prior to this. It's right there in the council meeting notes. I mean, come on. They knew it was there. They just tried to get it through, guys. I mean, it's just, I think it's shady. I think that they're going to get the cheapest builders in here that they can once it's approved. I mean, why can't you tell me who's going to build there? We know Rockford's there. We know Fisher's in here. We know, D.R. Horton, which is the ones that built Chestnut Estates. I mean, come on. We know who's building in here. Why are they so secretive as to who's going to build there? And, I'd like to see the houses. What are they going to build there? And not just the plots. I want to know what they're building there. Are they building, nice houses? Are they building, little crackerjack houses? I understand that we have a guideline, but, when you don't tell me who's going to be there, we're getting a little, giving them a lot of leeway to come into our community. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Up next, we have Stephen Denny.
Hello, my name is Stephen Denny, and I live at 319 Adrian Court in Walker Point. I'm talking about a smaller topic today, so I apologize, but I just wanted to share concerns and how unhappy I am with the tree and the shrub removal that happened along the creek that goes in our backyard. In September, we were notified that there was going to be a crew coming through to trim trees and remove anything that might need to be to improve access to the creek. They came through and removed basically every tree in our backyard. I understand that we did have a big honeysuckle bush. I understand that's an invasive species. I understand why they removed that. They removed everything else. They said they were going to come back and do a cleanup. They came back briefly, and they actually just left more trash and debris in our backyard. I did send some pictures that I think were forwarded to everybody, but we have logs and wood, and we have torn up grass, and now we have a big muddy flooded spot that we never had before. So I really just came to ask today, and also just when they came out, my wife went out and talked to them, tried to find out what they were doing. They completely ignored her when she tried to ask them questions about the changes they were going to make. And so I just wanted to ask tonight if we can look at the houses that this happened to. We would love to see that the cleanup happen thoroughly, and also for all these damaged areas, if there's going to be any repair or resodding, because when you see the pictures, it's a muddy, trashy mess now, and it used to be so pretty back there. All right, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, up next, we have Alec Heldreth.
Good evening. My name is Alec Heldreth. I live at 282 Shady Hollow Drive. I moved here a year and a half ago from Hilliard, Ohio. I have a small growing family. The Addison project, as well as my neighbors, poses a big issue within the development, not because we want to build houses, but because of the things we're lacking. We got schools here that don't have enough room for our kids. We got back roads that we drive on that, like someone else mentioned, can't fit 2 cars on, right? I waited 12 minutes this morning to turn left off at a dirt road onto 104. What are we going to do when we build all these houses? Right. Where are we going to put these kids? Right? This isn't just about business. I believe in the American dream. I moved to Commercial Point because it gave me the opportunity, right? But I tried to get away from Hilliard and all the violent. I lived in a townhome. I lived in a low-income house, right? I moved out here because I got the opportunity, right? We're destroying it. I believe Commercial Point can grow up and build communities, right? But we got to do the right things first. Let's invest into the school system. Let's invest into the roads, the infrastructure, right? Yep. We're doing it ass backwards. Yep. Pardon my French. I'm just passionate about this. There's not one person here. I heard someone make a comment, oh, well, these are all D.R. Horton people. You think that Biden or the D.R. Horton have to live in there for a year and a half? No, right? All the issues we have. So that's just an excuse. Think about what you're voting for tonight. You guys are all elected officials, right? Think about what you're doing to the community. We put you in these positions for a reason. Think about it. Don't just act on it because we have business people out here wanting to buy lands off farmers who have probably been here for years, right? I get it. Columbus is growing out, but we got to do it the smart way. Right. Look at the cities around us. They're doing it the smart way. Look at Hilliard, right? They've grown up, but they've also invested in their school districts. And I get the whole, they're going to put all these investments, where are they going to go for this? They're not going to go to the builder. They're not going to go to the investor. They're going to go to us to pay these taxes, right? This is our money that we are investing into this community. Let's do it the right way. Let's not just go out there and do what we want to do. Let's do it the right way, invest in the right things, right? There should be no reason that I saw someone get in an accident 2 months ago, and it took 15 minutes for a cop to show up. That's nothing to do with our police department. That's because we don't have the right resources here. Let's invest in that. Let's do it the right way. All respect for our police officers, right? But we gotta do better for our community. If I want my kids to grow up here, I want them to know that they're safe, I don't want to put in these cheap homes, right? If it is D.R. Horton, God, please, really think about it. But let's do it the right way. Okay? That's all I got. Sorry I'm so passionate. I'm fired up.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, up next
My
is
answer is no, by the way, obviously.
I'm shocked.
Up next, we have Brandon Allman.
Hello, I'm Brandon Allman, 308 Mahogany Lane, Commercial Point. Basically, everything everybody else said. Anybody Slido Crossing, any Commercial Point, and you raise your hand. A lot of people didn't sign up. I mean, speak on behalf of them too. Everything they said, the roads, the infrastructure. On top of that, what Eric said earlier about their numbers matching, they've had, and how long this was brought off the table last week and brought back on the table. If they can't get it together yet, what's gonna happen if this gets voted yes, and then other issues down the road, and then bringing them back in to finish punch list items? I mean, again, they've had a year basically for this to happen. Meanwhile, we've seen Rockford come in last week and talk about Gibson Road project. I mean, they had everything together. That's what it should look like. I mean, I work for Grove City. I work in our street department. I can tell you right now what it looks like going backwards. Look at what they're having to do. Drive through Columbus Street in Grove City. They're repairing the whole sanitary storm system because they built too fast, and now they're having to redo all of that, and it is a disaster. So please think about that before you vote yes. Please vote no. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Up next is Catherine
Wickline.
Wickline.
Thank you. Hello, council members. My name is Catherine Wickline. My husband and I live at 292 Shady Hollow Drive. I strongly, along with everyone else who has already spoken from the Scioto Crossing and Southern Point community, please urge you to vote no on this Addison Farms addition. I do not live far from Creekview, and my house actually does butt up to Southern Point. The road cuts off there, similar to where the cutoff already is, where the Addison subdivision would be built. We have a lot of children and growing families, my household included in that. We already have so many kids, so many people who do not stop at our stop signs, our overcrowded schools. And while we do have a relatively safe and quiet community, I fear, and as well as everyone else, that will not continue. We moved to Commercial Point from New Albany, Ohio back in September. While we have thoroughly enjoyed our time here, I fear that will not continue as the overcrowding will get worse. The crowded roads will get worse. There's not a time where you can come out of our subdivision onto Durrett to go to 104 or even Hoover Road to 665 without having to wait a very long time depending on the time of day. And I really, after talking to some other folks, was saddened to hear that ODOT and the state will not do anything until police report after police report after police report have been made to put in a roundabout or a stoplight or things like that. And it's really sad that you kind of feel stuck as a homeowner, as a young homeowner at that, when homes in your neighborhood go up and go up and go up for sale and can't be sold even for tens of thousands of dollars below their value, just because of the growing conditions of these cheaper homes and things like that. I don't want to continue to beat a dead horse on what everyone else has talked about, but please put yourself in our shoes and please consider saying no. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Up next is Lisa Darnell.
This question is all just for Southern Point, or are you guys going to cover stuff on Gibson Road too?
You can speak about anything you like for 5 minutes.
Just want to make sure, because I was talking about something different than what I want to talk about. I'm Lisa Darnell. I live on 12614 Gibson Road. I was prior on planning and zoning for Harrison Township. I lived over on Duval. I got bought out by developers, which was not fun. I was searching for houses. I found one on Gibson Road. I was told after I purchased the house that they were going to try to annex in all the way to my property. My concerns are being on zoning. There's a lot of restrictions. I haven't been able to find anything online on that property, and I just got notified last week about some things going on there. My concerns are with the buffer zones, the retention ponds, and some of the houses that are going to be built. I don't want to drive down Gibson Road and look at the back of houses and trashed backyards. My only concern is if we're going to be building over there, that we face the front row of houses facing towards, the other nice houses that we have on that street. I mean, I think it would look better. I really don't want any houses there because I bought 22 acres and that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to get away from what I was. I sold 10 acres, went to 22, and now there's a threat of another housing development coming in. Concerns schools. I work for Taste Valley Schools. There's no room for any of the kids in any of the schools. We're all at capacity. Taxes, when they want to pass that levy, I say no to that. And just like everybody else, the roads are concerned. And the water drainage for a lot of these places. I mean, right now there's water everywhere, so there's not really anything we do. But my concerns are when you build these houses and they back up to my property. What is the, when I was, like I said, for planning zone there, any house that was built to a commercial property or any housing development, they had to be 150 foot from the property line. I don't know what your guys' requirements are for that. And my suggestion is I would like that to be, if that's the case, if you're gonna approve that, that be 150 foot. Their backyard is 150 foot from my property line. The buffer zone, I don't know what you guys are requiring for buffer zone. It's lined with trees, but half of those trees are on that property. And then I'm sure that they will try to cut those down. If they want to cut those down, I would like to have a buffer zone there. A lot of my neighbors I don't think are here. And I'm speaking for me and everybody else, and just like everybody else here, we have a lot of concerns about the growing things around the whole city in the village. So with that being said, I need to know where I can find some more information on all that annexation and what some of the requirements are. And if some of those requirements aren't that, I don't know how you guys address that with the zoning board. Like I said, we really need to be off the property line houses. If you're going to put them in there, I would prefer them be facing the street, and we don't have to look at people's backyards with other crap in them. Or, I just don't want any of the houses there. Actually, I don't want them there, but I know growth is inevitable, so there's nothing we can do about it. But I just take in consideration all this stuff. And all these people here, they're going to be facing the same thing. They don't want the commercial. I mean, we're going to grow commercially, that's fine. But the traffic, because Gibson Road will have to be widened, their roads will have to be widened. It's just too much. And like the other guy said, we need to have all of our ducks in a row before we start bringing all this stuff in. Better police, more police people, more fire, more, road construction, all that stuff. We need to make sure all that's lined up before we have anything else come into the village. So that's all I have to say.
Okay, thank you. Up next is Glenn Stepp.
Was that step?
Sorry, guys.
Step. Was it step or step?
My name is Glenn Stepp. I live at 4918 Durrett Road. That's third house off of 104. Spoke quite a few times here. Only one or two people I recognize. Doesn't matter. Anyway, I see the traffic. Sorry, guys, it comes from Scioto Crossing. Okay, it takes me a long time to get on my driveway sometimes, and it takes me a long time to get on 104. I've heard things that property across the street, the buildings aren't going on because there's not enough electricity, and yet you're putting another subdivision in. Go figure. I know there's been water problems
I used to see those boil alerts a lot of times. I don't want your water. I don't live in Commercial Point, and I don't plan to. I'm just saying, no, I mean, if these were real big houses, and I mean, you've got some of these, somebody called slab homes. I mean, I don't know if somebody lives in them that's here. I don't know. They seem like they're very small. I'm glad that I've heard that you got away with the townhomes are gone. That's correct. All I'm saying is everything these people are saying is true. Think about it. Don't make rash decisions on this. I mean, I think some decisions have been made that's wrong. I mean, I go on my front door and I look at 30 lights on the building here and 30 lights over here. Okay. So, I mean, my house is not the same as it was. One thing that I would say, several, or at least a year ago or 2 years ago, I was in here and I mentioned the trees in front of the first two buildings. I know that you guys dropped them down for the people that built them. Okay, Nova or whatever, whoever it was. Those trees are dead, guys. I mean, last time I mentioned it, it was hot. Okay, so you couldn't name any trees now then at that time. But you could now, okay? So if you wait in 3 or 4 months, you're not going to be, because we're probably going to have a cold or a hot, dry summer. So I think it's important to get some trees in there. So other than that, everything that everybody said before me, I totally agree with. We're busy. It's a busy area. I moved here to stay away from busy. I work in Columbus. I bought this house to retire. So I don't want a bunch of traffic on my street. It's my street. My address is on there. So guys, just think about it. Okay? I understand progress. I understand everybody over there and all these things want to make money. I just want peace and quiet. So thanks, guys. Thanks for having me.
Thank you. Up next is Darren Roberts.
Hello, Mayor and Village Council. My name is Darren Roberts. I live at 5164 Horseshoe Drive, North Southern Point. And my concerns with the Addison Farms thing is what everybody else has been saying, the roads, the infrastructure, the utilities, all that. And then somewhat the discussion is I've not been able to find any kind of plan that really describes what kind of properties are put in there. When you try and look on their website or anything, it just basically shows a bunch of, diagrams, no legend or anything, what they're putting in there. So if they're putting in like multifamily homes and things like that, I think it's going to bring in a lot of crime and it's going to lower everybody's property values. Because anytime you do that, it seems to always bring in crime. So my concerns are the same as everybody else's for everybody that's in this room. So that's all I got. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Up next is Molly Gwynn.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, here for the airport presentation. I can do it.
All right, and we have finally Gerald Noss.
Hi, I'm Gerald Canals, 289 Tomahawk Court, Salem Crossing. I saw the updated drawing or plot of the new development as Farms, and the one retention pond or basin was moved from the southeast corner, and only the other one exists. The one existing on the latest drawing is 10 feet higher than probably about a quarter of the development, the southeast corner. And my property butts up against that southeast corner. I may not have an issue, but everybody further downstream may have an issue with storm runoff. That's it.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, that completes the public comments part of the meeting. We'll move into business items. Up next, we have a presentation coming from D.R. Horton, and it's concerning the property. Somebody have something? It's concerning the property up there on the television is what we're looking at. That is the area of which we'll be discussing. It's right, as you can see, the intersections 104 and 762. So we're talking about what's outlined there in the yellow.
Yeah.
Sir.
Tell who? Suck it up.
Yes, we got that. What did you say?
Suck it up.
She.
I think he's talking to me.
It's 7:68.
Good to see you again.
Go ahead.
Thank you. Hi, good evening, members of council and Mr. Mayor. My name is Molly Gwynn and I'm the attorney for D.R. Horton. My address is 250 West Street, Columbus, Ohio. And we are here tonight to present informally about a proposed development plan, and most importantly, to seek feedback from this council on the plan that's proposed. I'd like to just speak a little bit about D.R. Horton. D.R. Horton is currently the largest home builder in America, and many of you here may know us formally as Westport Homes. Horton entered this market through an acquisition in 2018, but Westport Homes has actually been here since 2004. We did Scioto Crossing, we did Chestnut Commons. And present with me this evening is our team division president, Jack Maltino, the director of land acquisition, Tiffany Rand, and Andrew Mao, land acquisition. We've been in this community a long time. We've done a lot in this community, we like to think, and that includes contributing to roadway improvements via payments of fee in lieu at the intersection of 104 and Durrett, as well as funding an expansion to the water tower vis-a-vis tap fee credits that occurred. As noted, this property is across 104 and there are industrial uses to the east. You can see that on the property right there. There is commercial proposed to the south for this particular property, and then single family residential to the north and the west. The proposed entry currently is across from the existing Exchange Way. And then we also have a right in, right out that's proposed down a little bit further on State Route 104 right there. I'd like to talk a little bit, and I don't want to belabor this, but about the market in central Ohio currently, as well as in Commercial Point. So the average worker currently spends about 215 hours per year in transit to work. And in central Ohio, that's a commute of about 43 minutes a day, 22 minutes in either direction. And the average commute data for Commercial Point is slightly higher than that. It's about 30 minutes in either direction into Columbus. The other statistic to keep in mind here is that about 80,000 households are severely cost burdened by housing costs in and around central Ohio. And that means that more than half of their household income is spent on housing. And part of that is a supply and demand problem. And then this data actually blew me away. And it's probably just because I've been doing this so long and working here so long. But I want to talk a little bit about the average sale price, and I want to talk about where we think our values are coming in. Because we think that this is going to be good value for people who want to live near where they work. Firefox had 55 closings in 2024. The average price was $452,000. Walker Point, the average sale price is about $453,000. And then Scioto Crossing, again, D.R. Horton, slightly less, $435,000. The total average, this is an average sale price for new construction in Commercial Point, was $441,000 per home. Existing inventory was another $421,000 per home. So these are high values. This is expensive. And to give you some sense of that, at a 6% interest rate, in order to qualify for a $450,000 home for an FHA loan with 3% down, you would have to make about $111,000 a year as a household income. The median income presently in Commercial Point is about $96,000. So how is this relevant to what we're discussing here? We are here this evening to propose a townhome product. We are currently building this product. We have these elevations here for you all to review in Reynoldsburg, as well as in the Hilliard City School District and Columbus City Schools. We will be building it in Sunbury as well as Mount Vernon. Each of our units includes a patio. It does include 4 parking spaces, 2 in the garage, 2 in the driveway, 3 to 4 bedrooms, 2 stories between 1521 square feet and 1654 square feet. And our prices are going to start at $375,000. And this is about $60,000 less than the next closest kind of price point. And so what we're hoping here is that these homes will allow people to live where they work, and they'll allow people to enter the Commercial Point community at a much more attainable price point than what's currently here. This is all while still providing a nice community, and I'm going to talk a little bit about that, with high quality design features, fully HOA controlled, and the most important is we are proposing private streets in our development. So private streets, fully developer, and then HOA maintained. And we think this is hopefully a good option for young home buyers, young professionals, teachers, police, and firefighters, and people who wish to stay here as their families grow. So just to present a little bit about the plan that you have in front of you this evening, we do have a top lot pavilion and community mailboxes. That's right near the entry feature right here. As you can see, thank you, Andrew. We are proposing about over 2,000 lineal feet of pedestrian path. And you can see where that comes around and comes here and includes around the retention ponds. We have sidewalks proposed throughout this community. And most important, we have 43% open space in this particular community. As I said, we do have private streets, and we are fully maintained by a homeowners association. And we've done all of this by providing a buffer on the residential to the north, as well as buffering along State Route 104 there. So we think this is a nicely amenitized community. And with that, we'd like to ask for preliminary feedback on this proposed plan. Just again, reintroduce ourselves and talk about why we want to be here and stay here in Commercial Point. So thank you very much. That's all I have.
Thank you.
Council, questions?
Are you aware that our code for what you're asking for is only 6 units per acre? And you're asking for 9. You're not asking for a planned residential. You're wanting to go straight multifamily condos, right?
We are actually I think that this is more reflective of a planned residential. And I'm going to tell you why, because these are homes. This is a townhome product, and we're seeing this in a lot of places. The code is not necessarily reflective of this product. As you can see, this kind of townhome product has emerged because single-family homes are cost prohibitive for many, many people. And so the townhome product is a nice entry point to the market. It's not multifamily. It's not condoized. These are fee simple lots that are available for sale in these buildings. So we would be going for a planned district. Admittedly, we do have a higher density, but again, we believe that that's because the code is not necessarily reflective of this product yet. It's just a little bit of a new product for the market.
Have you talked to ODOT about the entrances? Are they going to give you 2 curb cuts preliminarily?
We have preliminary discussed with ODOT. One of the other things that I should mention is that there is a property that has not been annexed yet into the village, and we would be bringing that in with this development. We would be cleaning all of that up and bringing that into the village. This parcel right here, we have had preliminary discussions with ODOT regarding the curb cuts, and we would certainly comply with whatever was required by the Ohio Department of Transportation, as well as whatever feedback we received from the village regarding that.
So when you file, it would be both properties as one package?
Yes, we'll have to bring it in contemporaneous with the zoning, but yes.
That's all for that.
I just think by looking at it, it's like you guys crammed as many as you possibly could in here. And I'm not saying that, there doesn't need to be, I know a lot of people don't like it, but not everybody can afford a $500,000 house. Okay, and they have to start somewhere. And I've seen some really nice townhomes, and they're behind them are really nice, house developments in Hilliard, So I'm not saying I'm opposed completely, but I'm opposed to all of this. I think that's just, you're filling up every spot. And we do have Foxfire up there to think about too, because I'm sure they don't want townhomes directly behind them. So if there'd be like a big green space back there, some hills, trees that are gonna stay alive, and some kind of buffering, maybe that would be easier for them to swallow. That's just my 2 cents.
You certainly will have the buffering. It's a
Yeah,
40 foot,
that's not enough.
and then 85 feet, I believe in total it is. It's
About
So
85
It's gonna be
feet
about
between
85 feet between buildings, once you count the setbacks and the lot setbacks.
Like all these ones at the end, if they,
Do you mind
just
if I hold it up?
a big retention pond or something back there just to completely separate it. That's my thought.
Thank you. Appreciate that feedback, and certainly we'll take that under advisement. That's what we're here for. One of the things, just to point out, there is separation between the buildings that's fairly significant, and that is called out here. So it's not as though these buildings are right on top of each other.
Yeah.
They are 6-unit buildings, but there is significant separation between the side yards and the rear yards as well.
I know originally when Addison Farms was coming in and they had townhomes and they had 6 units. They cut it down to 4 units. And then they took the townhomes completely out. But I know our code, because I looked under condo, because there's really nothing that really compares. I wasn't sure what you were coming in as. And I know our code says for 6-unit buildings, but I don't really like 6-unit buildings. I think that's a lot.
Thank you. Any other questions?
Would you be opposed to, as some of the people have mentioned and some of the calls that I got about this, to facing the front towards 104? So people coming down 104 don't look at backyards, they look at a nice front. Is there any way that could happen in this plan?
So we have proposed significant buffering along 104. We are here, this is very preliminary. We have not filed a rezoning
Right.
application at this point in time. We're here to get feedback, and we'll certainly take that under advisement as we work through our submittal. Obviously, our goal is to obtain support.
Can I address that question?
Yes.
My name is Jack Monskino. I'm the division president of D.R. Horton. I remember being next door in a men's club building where they used to have the council meetings. So we were doing Chestnut Estates at the time, I think, Mayor. We did Chestnut Commons. So I started building in Commercial Point back in 2006. I remember the first time we sold it in over 300,000 in Chestnut Estates, and I was concerned we wouldn't get an appraisal. So to answer that question, yes, we did contemplate facing 104. However, those particular homes then are going to face the warehouses and the lights. And at which point we felt, no, let's keep it more in its own setting, more cocoon type setting, and then put a large buffer with either a mound or some type of trees and mounding there that would allow for it to feel more like a community than those facing the warehouse.
So it would be your plan to make it as traveling down 104, they really wouldn't see anything except for beautification and not looking into backyards or swing sets or whatever, which is fine to have.
Sure.
But like the Gibson Road community, they're going to face out, so the Gibson Road looks nice was what their plan was. And it seems like that's maybe the direction that, we wanted to go.
Couple of points to make. As Molly said, these are fee simple homes, but they will be managed by an HOA. So where all of the yards, all of the open space, all of that will be maintained by the HOA. As far as going outside of that and putting up all play sets or fencing, that would be prohibited unless it would be just within the platted lot itself.
Okay.
So that's really where you're gonna get the beautification from, is the consistency in the mowing, the tree planting. We're not gonna be dependent on just one homeowner for that.
Thank you.
So you would be, in line to maybe do some mounding and trees and
Yes,
on
ma'am.
top at the other end.
Yeah, I think you're saying on the.
By
north and
Foxfire.
Foxfire,
Yes.
absolutely, ma'am, yes.
And, maybe retention pond, I don't know, I just, like, they're right here.
Mhm.
And they're like just butting up against them.
Sure,
So I think if you didn't have these,
pull that back a little bit and get more
put
buffer.
some mounding, trees and stuff. I mean, you'd have to look at it after you do another design, but that's just some things I think people appreciate.
I appreciate that, thank you.
Yeah, I think it's good for council to realize with that lot located where it is, this council's already in conversation for the triangular lot on the corner for a gas station being there.
Right.
So you're looking at gas station on one side of this, warehouses on the other side, backyards on single family home backyards on one side and farmland on the other. They have hit all four items real quick. And I think single family homes probably will not sell there.
No.
I mean, that's just how it is. You're going to have a phasing into the commercial area. Like I said, I've got the concerns also as the rest of the council, the buffering, the the density, so on and so forth. But yeah, this is a tough lot. And if this wasn't, and this is already zoned for residential.
Oh, it is.
This is annexed in the village and zoned
Yeah,
for, I
okay.
believe, R1 residential.
Yep.
Is it R3? R3
So this would just
residential.
be a change.
So this would be a change from what is there if they go with the planned unit and so on. So, but this is already in the village. It already is zoned residential. Obviously, you're not going to be able to build single family homes there with gas stations on one side and warehouses on the other.
So knowing now that that's part of the,
What's Foxfire?
knowing that this is
Single-family home?
some of Billy's land, how's that going to come into with that being in the CRA or TIF thing? Is that something they're going to try to do with?
That is
Residential?
already in the CRA.
So how do we do that with residential? Is that even something
Oh,
we can
yeah.
do?
Yes,
Wouldn't have to pay
yes.
taxes.
This is in the CRA, and these property would be they would be covered under the same agreement as what the CRA agreement that K-Nova has. This was brought in 2019 by the council that approved all that at that time. So yes, CRA for 15 years, tax-free. We're property
Wow.
tax-free for 15 years, and council has no say on that. It's already been done.
Yeah, by previous administration and council. Well,
So I guess,
remembering that,
knowing that, I would want a lot more concessions as far as density and such, because without the tax revenue, there's really no benefit to the village. You're not bringing any additional infrastructure that we need, like some of these other places. Sir, if I can ask you, what benefit is there to Commercial Point other than giving transitional housing to our young people graduating to have a step-up home? What would be your sale to me that it benefits the village to bring this in, knowing we can't tax for 15 years?
That's a great question. I think we're seeing this throughout a lot of central Ohio, is where are my kids gonna live? Where do they live? Because I want them close to me, and they might have grown up here, but they can't afford to live here. And this would be a type of home that would be available for children, divorcees that need to stay in the school district, active adult that don't want to maintain their properties. It's just a different style of home that is made available so that everything isn't just a third of an acre and $450,000, with all due respect, because we build a lot of those as well.
Right.
Yes.
well, my thoughts kind of change now. If there's not a way that we can get that CRA released on that property, then two things in life are guaranteed: taxes and death. And I just would not feel right having these people come in, would bring additional kids, I'm sure some, not pay taxes.
With all due respect,
I didn't write that.
I know you
I
did.
was
That
not
was
party
previous
to that. I
administration
hope
and
that
council.
that's not gonna be punitive just because we're trying to do.
So, and could I just note one thing regarding that, and certainly understand your position? The taxes exist still on the land value. All of the taxes that are currently paid on this property are not abated. It's only the increased valuation that is captured by that CRA. The other thing, as I understand it, is there is a tip here. The tip is layered with the CRA.
Yes.
It's a 5-year tip. You've got a 15-year CRA, understand 15 years. But the back half of that, that's already tipped. There's nothing the developer has to do, there's nothing the council has to do.
Right.
And so that back half of that will capture that tip revenue, and it'll be at that much higher valuation with all of these homes. So it's not, you've got the 15 years on the front end, but then you've got the full capture valuation on the tip with no additional legislation needed. These homeowners, that will, flow directly to whatever priorities the village might have.
Is that something that can be done though? Can we
I
have
believe-
something to release it from the CRA?
So
This property?
I believe it's already subject to a 15-year CRA and a 30-year tip. That's what's done. So there is a tip on it. There is a tip for the entire back half of it that gets that value. Okay.
Molly, am I correct? The income tax would apply to this?
Yes, absolutely. Yes. The income tax would still be great.
And with that TIF, the school still made whole, right?
Yes.
What roads are gonna support all this traffic coming out?
Hang on, this is just for council and developer. This isn't for the public at this
I
point.
mean, I think that this is something that we could work through, but just understand that knowing that we're gonna ask for a lot of concessions, to benefit the village, whether it be more green space for for people to use or something. And I understand that's not on you. That's on a previous council, previous administration. And congratulations to Billy for getting that at what he did. But I just don't see a whole lot of benefit on your side. I get it. It's not something you did, sir. But to then come in and go so far above our numbers, even though, as you said, this product is, it's kind of like the low maintenance homes. There's really not zoning for those. We haven't had that. We only have the zoning we have. And with the PRD, you're going to have to mother may I everything.
I think Court helped write the PRD code initially. I think when the PRD code initially came about, we were one of the first to take advantage of it. So understood. Thank you.
I appreciate the feedback.
Yes, sir.
That's why we're here.
Yeah, absolutely. And I just want to be honest.
I appreciate it. Save us a lot of money.
And our mayor, a lot of meetings.
Does council have any other questions or concerns at this time?
I do not.
Appreciate you.
Okay, thanks, Jack.
Thank you.
Thanks, Molly. Okay, moving on to our business items. Next item up is the Keven Hill State Route 762 development discussion. Give everyone a chance to get settled here, Bruce.
No worries.
Yeah.
Whenever people start.
Okay, as I said, up next, what we have is the Keven Hill State Route 762 development discussion. I will see if I can, if you want to go ahead and start, Bruce, I'll see if I can pull something up here.
Yeah, no worries, and I've got images in case council needs them real quick, I can hand them out. Council, as always, we appreciate your time. This discussion is something that was brought to your attention, I think, around October, November of last year. I don't have that many. And this is for a potential residential subdivision on Mr. Hill's property on State Route 762. As John mentioned earlier, one of the keys to a residential subdivision or any development is ensuring that you have water and wastewater to the site. It's the first thing we look for. We identified on this particular site that there was a wastewater
issue. This property is not serviced by any of the most recent gravity lines that the
Right.
village has. Eventually it will be. You have an annexation that's up later on tonight to be discussed, and that will facilitate gravity through Ball Farm that this piece of residential subdivision would eventually be able to pick up on. But in the interim, until that gravity sewer is fed, we looked for an alternative solution, and working with John and the mayor, we think we found a good one. What we would do is we would facilitate the tie-in from Southern Point's force main system onto the existing gravity system and free up capacity on that force main line that we could then use temporarily until the gravity line that runs through Ball Farm is active, and we would then tie into that. So it's kind of a temporary solution, but it's one that allows us to progress with the development steps. Obviously, once we have, know that utilities are viable for this site, then we'll move on with final planning, engineering, get you densities, elevations, et cetera. So we're still very early on. What we're trying to do is just make sure that we have an agreement with the village that if we do go that route, that we have a solution for the wastewater and water. In working with John and the mayor, they asked that we come back before council just to make sure that there was still an interest in us moving forward with the development, and so that they knew that this agreement was something that made sense to continue to work towards. So I know you guys have had a lot tonight, so I don't want to give you more than you need. Do you have any questions about what we're trying to accomplish there at this point?
You're wanting to put in a subdivision?
Yes.
Okay. I'll be upfront with you. I'm not interested, and it's nothing personal. It's just I'm trying to listen to everybody here, and there's such a saturation. And like you said, we've heard a lot. I don't think I would be okay doing that, and I don't want to waste your time either.
Understood. I will say that this is a project that is not today, right? It's in the future. It's moving down the road. And at this point, we're trying to just get to the point where we can do engineering to bring it in front of the rest of the council. So this isn't for us to say, you're giving us a residential subdivision. We're not asking for that at this point. We're just asking if we do bring something that makes sense in the future, that we have the ability to do. So I don't know. I understand your position, but I just wanted to let you know that this in no way would lock the village into giving us a residential subdivision. It's just giving us what we need to take the next step of engineering.
Okay,
I think it should be noted that that property that we're discussing is already annexed in the village.
Yes.
It's when everything is annexed into the village, it comes in as exceptional use. And then the next step is to rezone. It's not saying they couldn't be in here asking for planned district, the residential, commercial.
Yeah.
There's a lot of different possibilities being right there on 762, and I know that everyone's
Yeah,
been looking at some of those.
That was my question with the front piece. The plan that we're trying to get in to put on the shelf so that you guys can look at. We're wanting everything that touches 762 to be some sort of retail or some sort of commercial. But our committee had discussed maybe having a cut to come back behind the commercial and to help service also the Ball Farm. Is that something that you would be interested in, maybe using that front part as kind of like a transition and then develop the back part?
Yeah, that's one of those extra pieces I didn't want to throw in unless somebody asked a question about. So we have reviewed the plan. We know that the idea would be that 762 becomes a commercial thoroughfare in that front end. However, we do agree that with the way this piece is situated across from the MI subdivision,
right,
it doesn't make great sense to put a commercial district facing those homes. So what we thought would make sense is for us to align our entrances to the property with the MI entrance. And then what basically you'd come into whatever the village would have at that point, whether it be a four-way intersection or a roundabout, where you would proceed south into the subdivision, or you could go east or west to follow onto the commercial districts on the adjoining tracks. So to give you that curb cut entrance into your commercial district, this would facilitate that, but also align with MI so we don't have a situation where we have a bunch of staggered entrances down 762.
And with that, any cost for lights and stuff that would be on, you guys would take care of that? Because if you put another cut, ODOT might say we need a light. They might say, is that something that you guys would entertain making sure is taken care of?
This site would most definitely require a full site plan, a full PRD. We would have to do a full traffic study, and any impacts that were warranted from that traffic study, I can promise you John's gonna hold my feet to the fire. So I have zero doubt that if it was warranted that a light would go in, that we would contribute to facilitate that.
Mayor, how would that work with us already talking to the other people developing that? Would you look for a TIF on this?
No, we're not looking,
Oh.
at this point, we're not to a TIF, we're not to any of that development. Our plan, like I said, for this piece that we're talking about now, it's only to facilitate our potential use of the force main system, and we're not asking for a TIF for the tie-in portion at all. That's going to be funded by the development itself.
And that helped us, right? John and Mayor, them taking Southern Point off of gravity or force main or whatever it is he said. Is that something that benefits us?
That would benefit the village by, it would be redirecting the flow from Southern Point through the larger piping, going through the warehouse district. It would free up, actually, it would pretty much abandon the pipe coming down between Southern Point and 762. That sewage pipe would basically be abandoned in place for now.
And wasn't that in our
And that would open up what was coming down and tying into the pipe where it turns at 762. It takes a lot of flow out of that pipe, which in turn gives them room to tie into that pipe.
So that
There is a benefit to that, to the village as you move forward.
I mean, I hate to keep asking what benefit does it have to us, but
And there's a little bit of a benefit that, like I said, that just kind of redirects the flow coming out of Southern Point. Instead of coming down 104 to 762, it sends it through the warehouse district where the village has placed oversized piping to handle that type of flow. Right now, we are sitting in a situation where, John, correct me if I'm wrong, coming out of Walker Point lift station, we have an 8-inch, or the Walker Road lift station. We have an 8-inch force main coming through there, and we're stuck with an 8-inch force main, and it collects everything coming from the village except for Southern Point and Scioto Crossing. Everything else comes through Walker Road. So it's eliminating some of the sewage going through that pipe and adding into it. I mean, that pipe is full. That's a nice way of putting it. It's full.
So in my opinion, if the front is used for something other than housing, and you really won't see those from the roadway, it would kind of flow into the ball farm. I mean, I would be interested in exploring it.
Yes, I did. I like the commercial idea, not so much the residential. And also which it may work, what you're going to do, but you said, and when the ball farm comes on, well, we haven't even received paperwork for them. So you can't count on the ball farm being approved.
And we're not counting on it,
So, but you did.
Well, no, so that's John's request. I'll apologize, let me rephrase. That's the village's end request, right? Is that all subdivisions, all developments eventually be tied into a gravity system, right? They want to eliminate force main capacity eventually.
Yeah.
And so we would be using the force main capacity that we're freeing up by doing the tie-in, with the intent being if and when the gravity lines would flow through the back, we would be bonded and insured to complete that part of the project, be it 5 years or 10 years from now. What John didn't want to do is put a new large subdivision on the force main with no plan in sight for it to be taken to a gravity line. So that's why we were talking about the ball farm.
So what happens if the ball farm comes in, and by then you're gonna have at least probably a lot of new council members, and what if it's no? Then what is your plan?
What if
ball farm's not coming in and putting in that huge trunk line that they need, and you're on this temporary fix? What then is your plan?
So the plan for the village, and John will have to correct me if I'm wrong, but the eventual plan for the village is ball farm or not, a gravity line will come through from Walker down, and we would eventually tie into whatever that gravity line looks at. Whether it's done by developer, it's done by the village, or however that gets developed, but we would eventually tie in to the master plan for the wastewater treatment facility.
Yeah, I mean, I think we need more commercial. I mean, I think that's better for.
And we're not here to rezone yet, right?
Yeah.
So the goal would be, I appreciate that. And we can look, once we know that we have the ability to join into the wastewater system, we can start looking at other options and see what makes sense. Our initial reaction was residential development made sense, but we can bring options to the village to discuss, but it's really just getting the ball moved to the next stage.
Okay, thank you.
So would the next step be for us to say that we could provide them services and then they go on, or how? I don't.
That all happened when the council passed a service resolution back prior to annexing the property.
Okay.
And they have guaranteed water and sewer services to that parcel of land.
Yep. Okay.
That was done by previous council. That's in place. So this was just to kind of let everyone know. We had asked that they come and kind of talk to council. We didn't want council seeing something. Like I said, they haven't even started making plans yet on exactly what they're even going to do. But I think it's good that they come in front of council, speak to everyone, and let everyone know this is in, that they're guaranteed service.
Mm-hmm.
There's a couple different ways we can get them service, but we think it's going to involve a lift station for now and redirecting the Southern Point flow.
And our goal is going to be to present a preliminary, like a pre-development agreement only associated with the sewer, because John wanted some protections in there for the village, just to make sure everything is buttoned up. So we're going to present that agreement, and we didn't want that agreement to come before council without you having any insight or any interest in us developing this parcel at all. So if council's okay with it, we'll go ahead and draft the agreement, present it to council and to mayor and Bill, and then they'll circulate it to council for review and make sure that John's okay with the concept, and we'll move from there.
And that's just for services. When you talking about pre-annexation agreements, I'm going to balk because we don't want Mr. Litigator to come sue us.
It is not a pre-annexation agreement, we're already annexed, so that's great. It is simply a development agreement. It will not have anything, there will be nothing that requires the village to do anything but allow us to use that sewer line if we fulfill John's requirements, paying for the tie-in, bonding out the connections, etc.
Anything else at this time?
No, sir.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
I'm back.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, up next, we have a conditional use request. Once again, this is for the 25 Harsh Alley. We did our public hearing this evening on that. I believe nobody spoke on that conditional use request. Council has 35 days from the time of the public hearing to reach a decision.
So obviously, we didn't have anybody from the public speak out, but this isn't the first time we've talked about this particular site, and we know that council and the village in general has concerns about the traffic circulation. We presented what the current traffic circulation is as part of our application. That's what we have to do. That's based on current traffic flows, right? But that is not the end all be all. If council wishes, they can obviously change the traffic pattern, and we are willing to contribute to facilitate that change in traffic pattern. Mostly, what we wanted to consider is trying to determine what the width of that road needs to be, and what that looks like. So,
do you know what it is now?
So the road is technically supposed to be 16.5 feet wide by plat. The road is now from pavement to pavement. It varies down the stretch anywhere from 19 to 20-ish feet. Sign to sign is 24 feet.
That's what so when I went out today and saw the pins that were painted, that extra was that was property from Mr. Hill's other, or what's that?
Yeah, so, and I was going to get to that.
Oh, sorry.
Go ahead and talk about it now, no problem. So our thoughts are that what we would like, I know that the current village requirements for road widths and new developments is 30 feet. I think that sound correct to you, John? I think it's 30 feet. 30 feet doesn't really work there because there are two abutting property owners, right? Mr. Hill actually owns the property directly to the west, and then there's a property owner to the east. So the original alley width was supposed to be 16.5 feet. And I think it was 10 to 12 years ago, the village actually expanded that roadway a bit. And so we had a surveyor go out just so we could take a look. And you'll see some pink marks if you go out and look at the alley at this point. Those pink marks are actually the boundaries of Mr. Hill's property here to the west. Used to be an agritech center at one point. So what's happened is part of his property is currently being used to facilitate that road already. So what we would like to do is we think 20 to 24 feet for the road width would be sufficient to turn that into a minor two-way street there. turn that into a two-way street coming back. We would put do not enter signs past the property so they're not following down the alley. To facilitate that, we would deed or donate or whatever Bill and John decide they want as far as easements and right-of-way to expand the road. So Mr. Hill would provide the footage that's already being used by the village. We paper that up because that hasn't been transferred to the village yet. It's just kind of being used by the village, but we would officially grant that to the village. And then we would grant the additional to bring it to that full 24-foot width going down, keeping it in the current right-of-way. And then we would also pay to put the pavement in of that 24 feet. So that's what we would like to do. In order to do that, and I think you can double check with Bill, but I spoke with him earlier today, you can grant our conditional use with conditions attached to it. So the condition attached to it in this case would be that we grant the necessary right-of-way to facilitate the road width, and then we also agree to pay for the pavement associated with expanding that roadway as a conditional use, as approval of our conditional use. So that would be how we would facilitate that. I think the best thing, again, I still want to get some more feedback from council, but if that sounds like a plan, what I would offer to do is just make a bullet point list of those conditions that you could review at the CAL meeting. Mayor could circulate to you. That way, when you come in to vote, when it comes up for its term, then you would have that list of necessary conditions that you could incorporate and say it's passed with these specific conditions. That way we're not trying to do it on the fly. With that, any questions?
I went out and measured today from the center of the road. That's where I started. And I think I went to 20 feet. Because you have to think about, that property owner when he opens up this restaurant. But because like I told you, I think it would have to be a two-way back there. Those alleys are way too small. And then the do not enter signs you already talked about. So you would take, the developer would take responsibility for widening that road?
Yes, we put the pavement in for the expansion to whether it's 20 or 24, whatever that looks like it needs to be. And obviously if there's some sort of a road base that needs to be put in, John will tell us what specifications it has to be, I'm sure. We would ask that we not be required to build it to Belshazzar standards that are coming up, but that we just we're widening the road. We're not
Curbs,
recreating
gutters,
free-
lighting, yeah.
I have two real quick. One, by doing that, would the village be released from any monies that could be owed for the 10 or so years of use of that property?
Yes.
So, I don't know if there are any, but we've been using it for free. I just want to make sure we're not going to do that and then owe you. I don't want to pay your fees. You're expensive.
Yes, I will tell you that our belief is that yes, there could be some necessary recompense for that usage, but we would be waiving all of that.
And the second one is, I think the only way it would work, because we're probably going to have people not from Commercial Point, because I'm sure a place like that could have 40 or 50 kids at a time. And if you come straight back to an entrance only, loop around to drop off, and then come to a right out, forcing people to go right back out the way they came. That way there's no way that they can go the wrong way up there. I really think that'd be the only way it would work. Is that something that you guys would be open to? It'd basically just be a circle on the property with a right out only, so they can't even come down the alley and go in that first entrance. One, it would be safer for drop off.
Yeah.
Probably make the state happy. And two, I think that would protect the residents on Harsh Alley from a lot of additional traffic, especially if you ask that they not use First and Second Streets. We obviously can't make them, but if you would ask, hey, can you only come in and out this way?
Yeah.
Because we don't want to, with the other thing, a lot of the concerns, even from property owners on the other side, was the additional traffic on that small alley. If you did that, there shouldn't be any additional traffic other than maybe the stray car that's coming from West Soda Green or just outside from the west, and they just come down that alley because it's a first road. Is that something you would do to make it work?
Most definitely. Assuming that John and Susan don't, Susan's still here, but assuming John and Susan don't see issues with that from a safety perspective or anything else once they review it, we wouldn't have any issue with it being with the second entrance being a right in, right out only, and then the primary entrance being straight in.
Well, it'd be right out. We don't want people going in there. We want them to come up to the entrance.
Okay, yeah, I like I said, as long as we can get in and get out, I don't think it really matters to us how they go. If that gives the village more comfort, I think Nancy, it might give you alleviate some of your concerns with going down there. I don't see why that would be a concern. Again, I defer to John and Susan just to make sure that there's nothing that I don't know about from a traffic engineering perspective. But I don't see any issues with it, and I don't think the owners would have any issues with that.
Well, I think with those stipulations, with Mr. Hill paying for the paving and whatever it needs, doing that traffic, I believe, and from a property owner that's there, does that sound like it would alleviate the additional traffic behind your home? And I mean, I'm not holding you to it, but does that sound like something that would work to make it work?
On the advice of my attorney, no comment.
I mean, I think that would help, because everybody that spoke not against or had concerns about the townhomes, it was the additional traffic. If we do as much as we can to protect our constituents and mitigate that traffic, I think we've done what we need to do, because if not, I don't know what else this property can be used for, quite honestly. And it be a property that can continue, because that's been around for so long, to continue to be a staple in the community. I mean, that's just my opinion, and that's not worth a whole lot, but I mean, that's where I'm at.
Understood. Do any of the other council members have concerns or conditions that they would like us to consider to attach to the variance? Ms. President of Council, is that plan work if I present those in a bullet point through the mayor for you guys to consider at the town meeting? Yeah. So that's what we'll plan to do by early to mid next week. We'll get you an updated set of those conditions. That way, discussing all the things that we discussed here, we'll get those so that way when it comes up for a vote. Is that, we're on a 35-day clock, is that right?
Yes, 35.
So we're on a 35-day clock, so by the next council meeting, you'll have those that you can just say approved with this set of conditions attached. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Bruce. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good to see you. You too, Ralph. Take care, brother.
Okay, moving on, next item, we have the variance request. We held the public hearing for that. Council, I didn't know if there was any discussion about that tonight. Council has 35 days to make a decision on the variance request.
Well, my position is we have rules, and if you don't follow them, I'm sorry, you're going to have to tear it up and start over. I'd like to make a motion that we vote on it right now.
You don't have to make a motion to vote on something. You can make a motion for what you want.
Okay, well, I make a motion that we deny. And my question before we vote, Bill, is if we deny it, does his fines start from when it was originally cited or from when we vote to deny it?
He was already cited and already fined.
So it doesn't continue, so he can take 6 years to tear it out?
Now we'd have to follow your code, and John would have to get out there with notice, and then he would have to do whatever council voted.
I mean, I appreciate it. It's beautiful.
Have to file another action for enforcement if he didn't do it voluntarily.
Okay, I think it's beautiful, but if we make the rules and we don't force people to follow them, why are we making the rules? So I make a motion that we deny right now and make it final.
I second the motion. Okay, I've got a motion on the floor to deny the variance request for 233 Victorian Drive by Eric. We have a second by Jay. Roll call vote.
Sarah?
Yes.
Ross?
Yeah.
Nancy?
Yes.
Eric?
Yes.
Jay?
Yes.
Audrey?
Yes.
Motion passed. Okay, we'll take care of the paperwork, and we'll keep council advised as to where we are with this.
Thank you.
As we move forward. Next item up, street closure request. We discussed this briefly at the previous committee of the whole meeting. We have a application for a street closure in the month of July. WCOL,
No.
QFM 96. QFM will be doing their bike nights in the center of town, or they were requesting to do it in the center of town. It will consist of motorcycles coming into town for the month of February on Thursday nights from 6 to 9. There'll be July. Man.
Long night.
Long night. Okay, so yeah, let's start over again here. Yeah, we're looking at the radio station coming in here doing their thing, and that would be for the month of July, Thursday night, 6 to 9. They've requested, well, in fact, they're going to be doing a concert on all 4 nights. They would rather do the concert in the center of town versus doing the concert back behind their place. Although at this point in time, they're not allowed to sell alcohol in the center of town, which is how they make their money. So they're not going to do a concert in the center of town unless we can do something to kind of figure something out there.
Time-wise, we can't do a door.
As of right now, we do not have a door at this point in time. So, but what they're requesting though is with the amount of traffic that they're bringing in, when they brought this to our attention, the chief and I, in fact, they came and they said, we had a meeting in back in the conference room. They was telling us, hey, we've signed a contract. This is what's coming. What do you suggest we do to kind of alleviate some of the problems? And walking the streets was the chief and I's idea. We think that's the best way to go about this with all the parking and everything else of motorcycles that's going to be coming into town. That just kind of puts our thumbprint on it a little bit as well. If we block the streets, we have officers, we can have officers there, and just closing the streets at certain times and just keep a little bit closer eye on everything. Otherwise, they're still going to have it, and it just could be a mess. If you start lining motorcycles up on both sides of Front Street down there, both sides of Belshazzar, and you've got traffic trying to drive through there, I think it's just safer for the whole village to close the streets, is my personal opinion.
Question,
Yes.
if I can, the closing on the south end of Front Street, it still allows access to the other business there?
Yeah, what we had looked at was closing the alley between Beck's Garage and the station house, and closing that alley to Oak Alley, which is the alley that runs beside. So just the area between both bars would be closed.
Okay.
And then closing Front Street between between Hickory Alley down to Congress Street, and closing Belshazzar, all of Belshazzar. That wasn't in the original picture that I gave everyone, but I believe it's in the updated picture I sent out, just because we don't need traffic coming in from Belshazzar, and then there's no place for them to go because the bowling alley is one way coming towards them, and they hit a closed street.
Is there any way we can accommodate the resident that's right there to make sure he has a place to at least park and get to his house during that time? We have the one resident that's at that house next to Ross's property that goes across the creek. Is there any way we can make at least one spot? They only have one car. Where's Cole going to park? How's he going to get to his house?
You can't park there.
I mean, if we could have a spot that's no parking in Hell's Half Acre or something that's for him to then go across. I don't want somebody to not have anywhere to park at all safely. With a lot of, these bike nights could bring 100, 200 bikes with people from all over. I don't know.
Put a cone or something there.
Yeah, I don't know. Is that something that we could somehow facilitate? Just one space. They only have one car. They share it.
I would say,
Yes.
trying to figure out not to put them like right there because that would be inside the closure. Maybe it's something if the church is okay with, maybe he can park on their lot for that evening. The hours of it is going to be 6 to 9.
Yeah.
So we're not looking at extreme. I think we were looking at road closure from 5 to 10. So we're not looking at a huge amount of time. So maybe check with the church. Hey, would probably be willing to allow them to park over there. Have a spot to get in and out, and then at the end of the event or whatever, he can retrieve his stuff.
Well, let's face it, the spots aren't going to be open till midnight, 1 o'clock, probably, even though it ends, because I'm sure they'll stay. But as long as we have an option that we can communicate.
I'm sure we can find room for one car. Like I said, the Front Street would only be closed from Hickory Alley going north, so you still have street parking.
So in front of his house would be open?
Whose house are you talking about?
He's next. You see, you got the.
What street are you on?
I'm on Front.
Freddie Martin.
Oh, Freddie Martin's place.
Yeah.
Front Street would be open in front of the station house.
Oh, I thought it was. I thought
it would close at the alley.
Okay, I thought it was closed.
So he could just come up the road.
So at that point, we could put a sign so that he can at least park there.
We could find some place for him to park his car.
Yeah,
During go-karts, he parked in my driveway. He's
Yeah.
welcome to do that.
as long as we have somewhere for him to go, so that there's no problem.
Yeah. Okay.
Um,
Any other
Yeah,
discussion?
I spoke with, first of all, is this a motorcycle? You have it down as a motorcycle show, isn't it just bike night?
It's actually supposed to be a motorcycle show. They're bringing in radio personalities, a
Okay.
concert, and they're
It's bike
doing
night.
a machine, a money grab machine, raffles, contest. They're trying to make it more into an event as opposed to the typical bike night.
I spoke with Mallory because she was not going to be able, Mallory's the owner, for everybody who doesn't know that, because she couldn't be here tonight. And I just had some suggestions, having the food trucks down there. I suggested that she get a dumpster, like we always have a dumpster at our food trucks. Our trash cans, I'm sure people will be using them, that's fine, but I expect them to empty our trash cans and put a new bag in. I discussed porta potties. If you're making it like a community event, you're gonna have to have porta potties. I told her I had a contact for that. I told her she could use our picnic tables if they wanted to, and any vendors, like I see they're gonna have food trucks, do they not have to, since they're serving the public, do they not have to come in here and go through our appropriate application? Because that was, if they're serving the public, then they have to.
Not if council gives permission to close the streets.
Okay, so
Once if you close the streets, and I wasn't that far into food trucks, she had mentioned it, but didn't say for sure
Yeah.
that they was going that far with it.
Okay,
If they do, council gives them, that's part of the application. Take the streets and use, or using village property, they're required to get permits for food trucks if they bring food
so
trucks
like,
in
I
on
know
a closed
sometimes
street.
Cider Crossing wants to have food trucks, if they would say, we want to close our, a street off, they wouldn't have to go through all of that.
But they would have to come and fill out the
road closure.
road closure and have it approved by council.
Yeah, okay,
And it's supposed to be done 90 days in advance.
okay.
Is when they're supposed to submit stuff.
And I told them they were welcome to use our Wi-Fi that we have there for our vendors. And the signs, have you ordered the signs?
Signs for,
Remember, we discussed it in the last CAL meeting that I was at, the signs for road closure, you're put them out a little bit ahead of
the
time.
cones and stuff.
Yeah, and you were gonna have signs that, the chief or somebody was gonna put out a few days before saying that these roads are gonna be closed.
We have the cones I was told was already ordered. And we have them in stock. Is that correct?
Yeah, but those signs were gonna give notification ahead of time to people.
But we don't have signs yet.
Columbus
Put it that
just
way.
Columbus just puts it on an 8.5 piece of 11 paper and puts it
Well,
on the post.
that was done during the
Yeah.
last motorcycle show down there, and there was a big to-do.
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't know.
There was a dump truck parked in front of the post office.
You said that you've talked to them and you offered them the village picnic tables.
Yeah,
That has to be approved by the council.
well, that's fine. I just said we could do that. I mean, I don't see why it wouldn't be approved, but, that's fine. But I want to make sure these signs were supposed to be ordered a long time ago. And at the last meeting, you said, I'll get on that. I'll make a note. This is when we do a budget. We have to have signs down there that tell people ahead of time, you can't park here, because they put signs on the poles and nobody paid attention to them. And people still parked there. So you guys would having a discussion, so this is the right way to do this, so we don't have this problem anymore. So I would request that those signs be ordered prior to this happening.
Mayor, my only other concern is, and council said they weren't interested in having this in our ordinances, but shouldn't the event fund police protection instead of the village having somebody that's paid to do the whole village,
Yeah.
a special duty rate so that we can have somebody dedicated there for safety? I mean, if we assign an hourly officer, I believe that's not helping the whole village. It's that event. Shouldn't they fund it? And I know we don't have special duty, so if that means they have to do the county or whomever, that's my only concern, is taking an officer off the street that can't answer calls at the expense of our constituents versus the event absorbing that cost and Then we have 3 additional officers possibly to respond if that officer needs a problem, because we don't know. This could be 100 people, 500 people. That's my only other concern. Other than that, I think this is the right way to handle it. I just believe the event, whether that be QFM 96, whether that be the establishment, fund the protection for the event.
We have in the past, the village has not charged, or we haven't for the past 5-6 years. We don't charge for officers for community events. I mean, we've got the same thing when you do the food truck festival.
But that's put on by the village.
Doesn't matter. It's a community event. You're taking officers, you're putting them in the middle of town. We put them into homecoming.
Yep.
Community event, we got officers patrolling where the crowd is. The idea of having officers in the village is to be where the crowd is. We have grown our police department to the point to where once we get everyone fully staffed and he gets home, we're looking for, like he said, 1 more officer. We're going to have 3 men per shift. And it's not saying we can't shuffle a couple guys take 1 guy from the other 2 shifts, and you could wind up with 5 officers on duty that night if we really thought it was necessary.
I know that we do that for the men's club. I've never seen an officer stay down at the food trucks the whole time ever. I don't see them at all at the farmers markets. Maybe like in the morning to help do something, but they're not there all the time.
Well, and I'm not saying they would be there for this all the time either. I mean, it's.
Yeah. Have you, I know Eric mentioned like calling the sheriff's department and getting some auxiliary officers. Is that an option?
They can call whoever they want if they wish to do that.
Chief, what's your thoughts? I know you do whatever, but I mean, what's your thoughts the best way to handle this?
Well, with an event, I reached out to OBETS because they hosted this event before. Now, they did not close streets down. They actually used, what's the big place they have there?
Fortress.
The Fortress. Matter of fact, it got so big, they broke off of, did it off of QFM and started their own. They turned into a bike/car show. Anyways, I don't know if he's city manager or village administrator. I don't know what their status currently is. Mr. Davison, I spoke with him. And I spoke with an officer that I know there has been there for quite some time. Doug Ellison.
Oh, yeah.
Who it is. But anyways, I asked them what their guesstimate was being down here, what they thought we would get, because they were getting close to 500 and 600 bikes. They think we are potentially going to be looking, in their opinion, to about 300 that will come down here. I know it's Commercial Point, but what are we, 5 minutes from Grove City? So we're really not like out in the middle of nowhere. So the big thing is going to be the first night, which is July the 10th, to see what we're working with. I would definitely want to have 2 officers that's assigned to I'm not going to put 1 cop there working by themselves. Won't happen with an event serving alcohol. I want a pair of officers there. So really with that, like I said, the July 10th is going to be the biggest thing. With that said, it's, I guess, kind of up to you all how you all want it handled. If you all want to pay for officers to bring officers in, just mind if I pull them off day shift or off third shift, that's potentially putting an officer by themselves on that shift, whereas normally there would be 2. If the village wants to say, hey, we're going to soak up the cost of that, if it means bringing somebody in for overtime for that event, to assist where we can have 2 officers there, then so be it. I know some places look at doing, special duty. We never did special duty here. Seems every time we start taking a look at it, then we get down on officers, which we're not the only agency. Nobody wants to be the police anymore. So yeah, like I said, I'm just going to give you all numbers for that event. Minimum, I want 2 officers. I want them in a pair to work that event. And we're still even looking at having assistance from the sheriff's office and the highway patrol as much as they can with that. But they're going through struggles with manpower as well. The highway patrol's down a fairly good percentage. I know the other day there was 1 troop work in the county. Sheriff's officer minimum staff is 3.
So again, it's just going to go by how much help they can provide on that. So I would definitely want a minimum of 2 of our people there scheduled just for that event. And that's just for the event time from 5 to 10. After that, I think a big advantage to doing the street closure, what me and the mayor said, the old saying, we giveth, we can taketh away.
Mhm.
So we shut the roads down. Basically, that's turned into parking. They end the event at 9. We're looking at an hour time to start phasing them out. So a large population will be leaving because their vehicles will be illegally parked at that time once we move the signs. So that's going to help with the street closure. It's going to be a big thing on traffic control. Another issue, I think, where we talked about bringing the concert into the center of town, it won't be in the back of the one building where it's getting funneled a certain direction.
Well, that's not definite yet.
Right.
Yeah, if
Good
they would be
try.
willing to do that, I'll put it that way.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
That would help.
My only concern is funding the coverage, and is it going to leave other parts of the village not properly covered to keep our officers safe? I agree it should happen. I just wanted to discuss the coverage and who funds that at this point rather than after. I'm absolutely in agreement that we need to grant the street closing. I just feel that with the streets closed, there should be at least a share with the event, whether that be QFM 96 paying it or whether that be whatever business is doing it. I don't know, but I feel like there should at least be a share.
Everybody else, thoughts?
I think there could be a little bit more discussion. At a CAL meeting or something to see.
We don't have much time, right? Then we have to have this approved so much in advance. That's a question. Because if it's July 10th, we're right at 90 days.
Is that another month? Yeah.
Yeah, I don't believe we have any set time we have to respond to this other than getting it to us as soon as possible. But yes, they are kind of hanging out there waiting.
Right.
Yeah.
I don't want to hold it up for that, but if nobody else is in agreement, then I'm okay with, moving forward. But I
Do
just
we have a
want to
motion to move forward?
I'll make a motion.
Got a motion by Jay to close the streets for them 4 nights in July from 5 to 10. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Ross. Roll call vote.
Andrea,
If I vote no now, can we re-vote on it again?
No.
No.
This is
Okay.
And this is for us.
this is the application to
This is it.
close the
All right.
streets
This is for
They
us
can
to
close
fund
it,
everything.
yes.
Correct.
as it stands now.
And we're not holding them accountable with the trash cans and all that stuff.
There are conditions that can be put on this, and they will be involved in cleaning.
Sarah,
Precious.
yes.
Achieve it.
Jay,
Yes.
Ross,
Yes.
Nancy,
No.
Eric,
Without conditions, I vote no.
What's the results?
3 yeses, 2 noes. 4 yeses.
4 yeses, 2 noes, motion passed. Next item. Utility truck. As council appropriated money for a new utility truck, I just wanted to make sure everyone was still on board with getting this. You've appropriated the money. I just wanted to kind of advise everyone we're getting ready to purchase it. Is there any more concern or anything?
Are we keeping the old one or are we trading it in?
We're trading it in, what they was giving us, 15,000?
15 what?
maybe half that.
Yeah, okay. It's pretty much, what is it, 2011, transmissions falling out?
Okay.
Oh, gee.
So anyway, okay. I just wanted to kind of like bring that back and let council know before we just went out and purchased it. If you see a brand new truck sitting there, we will be ordering that as long as council has no more objections. Like I said, the money has been appropriated. Okay, moving on. Legislation, third reading. This is the Addison Farms rezoning that came up. Council at the last meeting postponed this until this meeting, so it is no longer on the table. It is off the table. I will do a third reading and then we can have a discussion prior to the vote. Third reading, ordinance 2024-03, an ordinance to rezone 110 plus or minus acres within the village of Commercial Point, Ohio, from exceptional use to planned unit district, and adopting the preliminary plan and development standards text for the planned district. I would like to start by saying this is what was postponed back in it was postponed April 15th of 2024.
Right.
I would suggest, first of all, that someone make a motion to amend this.
Can I make a motion to amend the amended to the current one? So we'd be amending to the one that's dated
The one that was
4/25.
distributed.
Yes.
It still will contain the same numbers, but yes, it would have all of their updated information.
So before the discussion, I make a motion to adopt to the most current version that was distributed in our packet.
Okay, we have a motion by Eric to amend ordinance number 2024-03 and that is to amend the exhibits as distributed in your council packet.
And it's still 2024-03. It's just the newest copy.
Yes.
Correct? Okay, thank you.
I'll second.
We have a second by Jay. Roll call vote to amend ordinance 2024-03.
Jay,
Yes.
Sarah,
Yes.
Nancy,
Yes.
Ross,
Yes.
Eric,
Yes.
Andrea.
Yes.
Motion passed. So now we can throw this one away. And we're now discussing the one that came out in the council packet.
Right.
I've done a third reading discussion.
Sir, did you have a chance to look into the numbers?
I did, so something was brought up to me about a few minutes before the start of the meeting. Before I start, Mike Bednar, Addison Properties, 3401 Enterprise Parkway, Beechwood, Ohio. And I'm ready. So I appreciate everybody tonight. Thank you. Jay came up and Mr. Reed came up and said, look, there's a density issue. We just came up with something. Mr. Eric, you guys already approached and said, we've got this situation that we're looking at, and it looks like you're over density. So, of course, I'm scrambling back there trying to figure out what we're talking about, right? Because we've been at this for years. I mean,
Right.
We've had this thing in front of you guys for years. And so the last thing we had was a set of red lines that everybody at the county looked at him and said, all right, we need you, Mike, we need you to make these adjustments. And it was a handful of things on the site plan itself: the maximum lot coverage, setbacks, roadways, minimum center line radius. So we made all those adjustments.
Right.
All the development plan that we did, all the adjustments in the development plan, we accepted. We said, look, we're good. We can get this done. Together, we can get it done and move forward. Because I promised you last time I was here, we'd be done, right? Give me 30 days.
I agree, and I don't mean to cut you off. My question was, did you find out, are my numbers correct? I know what you did. You just didn't take out the open areas.
Well,
Because I ran the numbers with just the 10 acres for roads. Is that just an oversight? What happened?
so two things. One, in a PUD, you could specify the text, right, what the density was. So when we originally brought this site plan here, it had townhomes. Everybody agreed we don't want townhomes. And the decision was made, you guys can run with this if you take out the townhomes. And everybody agreed on it. So the densities were always there. Whether we calculated them as net density without taking out the body of water, that's arguable. Nobody brought that up to our attention. In other words, all of these things that we talked about, including the right of way, and all these things I just mentioned, it never came up.
Sir, we didn't have the final stuff until after that discussion before our cow, so we couldn't look at your density. And with all due respect, Glenn Duggar and the other gentleman, before the last vote, when Glenn asked for it to be tabled, we told him, I think Mr. Krigo brought it up for the meeting, you have to be under 4. He said, let's table it, we'll get it under 4 and bring it back.
Okay.
Your numbers show it under 4, but your numbers are wrong.
Okay, so was that indeed what we agreed on was gonna be under 4?
Yes, sir.
Because in all the discussions that I know, and again, I wasn't here for all of them. So if you tell me this, then I have to take it at face value because, I don't know. But what I understand is we agreed on this particular, because the site plan hasn't changed. In the last 2 years, the site plans remained the same. The only thing that changed is we lost 2 units when we adjusted the radii in the center line because it made rain. So we lost 2 units, 1 in each pot. So in my opinion, when Mr. Regal brought up to me, I said, well, that can't be. We lost 2 units. How can we be under over density?
It hadn't changed. You had townhomes and now they're not there.
That
So
was
that's
a year ago. That was a year.
You said
ago.
in 2 years it hadn't changed.
But, yeah, 23, I think, is when we got rid of the townhome. So it was 2 years.
No,
So
that,
irrespective,
I've only been on since 24. It was during my time.
Okay. So you're right, and I'm not quoting exact dates. What I'm saying is the times that we submitted this plan, the plan that's been in front of you, that we've talked through, that we went back and forth through the cow, Mr. Madison, I talked through, and all the comments that came back time and time again, this never came up. Irrespective of that, if, the question here stands that everybody agreed this was the plan that we were looking at. None of this ever came up. And if Mr. Krieger came and said that, and Bill said we'll be under 4, the inference was that we were under 4. We was not an issue, right?
Right, and we took your numbers for what they were. I just checked them to finish out. That was the last thing for me to check off. I checked them and you're not under 4. I just, the density is a problem, as you heard everybody speak. And can you make it under 4 if we make that a condition of it moving forward?
So let me also figure out how you're calculating density. And this has to go with, and Mr. Madison, I don't know if you have the code in front of you.
I can tell you the code. I memorized it today.
Section 173.03.
It's net.
Net developable site.
Mhm.
The definition of net developable site is gross acreage minus right of ways and body of water.
Well, it's open area,
Not,
but yes.
not open area. Open area has to do with net developable acreage. That's the definition above it. If you actually look at net developable
Mhm.
site, which is what is referenced to decide what density is, it subtracts water and right of way. And in doing so, if we made that calculation tonight, we would end up with 82 developable acres. So in a way, you're bringing up something that I wasn't aware of. I don't think anybody was. I mean, otherwise, I feel like you guys have brought it up to me. It's not like you're trying to ambush me. We're all trying to get this thing done.
Right.
So 110 minus 21,
Mhm.
right away, 7 acres for the pond. And I was on the phone with my engineer, so we got that calculated. 82 acres times 4, 328. So we would lose 16 units on top of the 2 we just lost because of the radii. I don't want to fight about this stuff.
I don't either. We were told that your numbers were correct and your numbers both showed under 4. I just ran them to make sure. I'm seeing that you're not under 4. I have to do my due diligence for the constituents. You agreed to under 4. Mr. Duggar stood there when he asked for it to be tabled, when Mr. Trio brought it up, that yes, we will get it under your development standard, and it's not.
And look, again, out of the spirit of cooperation, we're not gonna back any, PUD is a PUD, right? You can write your own text. But you guys did say 4, and if Glenn said we're gonna be under 4, and we agreed to it, but we used the wrong calculation, because when you look at it, shame on us, and thank you very much for bringing it up to us. If we can all agree that net developable acreage or net developable site is 82 acres times 4 is 328.
Yeah.
And we can pass this and a development resolution together with the condition that we come for engineering not to exceed the 4 as per the code. Let's just move on. Let's get that done. And we can get off the table. And I want to work with you guys. And I hear what you're saying, but I want to also, every time we do this, it makes it more expensive for everybody. Every house that gets
Absolutely.
wiped out adds more costs. I'll redesign this. We'll make it work. We'll knock out another 16 homes. I mean, we're already limited with 200 townhomes.
Right.
So we'll reconfigure, we'll make it work. But in the spirit of cooperation, if you guys want, can we get this done tonight?
Can I speak frank?
Absolutely.
Sir, I would have loved to work with you from the beginning. But when litigation was threatened on your behalf, we lost the right to work with you. And I think that's the hiccup.
Well, I think we found a way forward. And again, I wasn't here for the litigation.
Well, your representative was that made the threat.
Okay, well, that's
Right.
That's the past.
Right. I agree.
I respect your position, you know, and honestly, I wish we could have worked from day one.
Amen.
And Mr. Krieger was here some years ago. I've been in front of these folks before. And I think I want to do what's best for everybody. I mean, you're not going to please everybody, right? I mean,
Absolutely
you
not.
can understand that. There's
Right.
going to be somebody that says, I don't like that. You're out.
I think,
Yeah.
it's just like from the beginning, I mean, we're given different plans, you know, than what the gentleman, Fry, was that his name?
Jim Fry.
Jim Fry. Jim Fry came in here, you know, oh yeah, we're gonna do this, this is what it's gonna be like, and then he's out of the picture and we get something totally different.
Because you guys asked for something different. You said
No,
you
it was
want
more, you added more density to it, and then you had to take things out, when Ross found that, and now your numbers are still wrong. I just feel like, you know, and I agree, I wish you would have been here sooner, because I don't think that they were organized enough to get it done. And unfortunately, I think at this time, for me, it's like, you have
Do you not
to start
agree that
over.
everything that you guys brought up, everything that Bill and I worked, Mr. Madison and I worked, you guys said, can you do this? And he said, yes.
Yeah, but before we were getting no. You know, you're gonna do
I don't want
what,
to live in the past and say that I'm not going
Yeah.
to make excuses.
you
to
came in
say-
at the 11th hour, is what I'm saying.
But the 11th hour, talking about, you know, boy, if I'd have known, if you would have given me this red line, at the same time, Mr. Matt has given the red lines and everything else, we'd be having this conversation. Nobody saw it. It wasn't like a fast one. Nobody saw it. You guys didn't see it. We didn't see it. I'm here saying, what do we want to do? Do we want to hold this thing down after all the times, all this time spent on this?
Yes.
My question is, and Mayor, this is kind of a question to you. If this is voted down, can the time be waived for them to come back with everything in order to go through the process again, so everything is neat and clean? Or is it, I'm asking out of ignorance, I've never been in this situation, so.
I think to answer that question, that's kicking this can down the road. It's been kicked down the road for 1 year right now.
Mhm.
We are sitting here, village council, the previous council voted on a pre-annexation agreement.
Right.
They said, we will allow you to build, and it was well over 4 was the density that the previous council voted for. It included townhomes, patio homes, and single-family homes, and the density was way up there.
Yeah, it was like.
And the previous council was okay with that. They voted, they said, we will work, and in that pre-annexation agreement, that agreement says that we will rezone this. We will negotiate a TIF agreement with you. We will work with you. And council agreed to that. And 3 of those previous council members are still sitting here tonight.
Right.
Those same council members, that previous council, voted and passed a service resolution saying that we will give you water for what you presented, townhomes, patio homes, and individual homes. They said, we will give you water, we will give you sewage, we will give you police protection. So there's 2 commitments the village made to them. Then that previous council said, we vote to annex that property into Commercial Point for this development that we had this picture of that showed this higher density with all this other stuff. The council voted for that. Now I realize 3 out of the 3 of you, or 3 out of the 6 of you, were not here during those discussions. But the village entered into this agreement, and this has been in 2022, I believe, is when this whole thing started, and they started entering into agreements. So like I said, part of those agreements that this village council authorized was, we will rezone this for you. We are now at a point where it's time to rezone it. And I understand some of you weren't here, some of you were, and you may not like it, But that's beside the point. In my opinion, that ship has sailed because of what the previous council did. Tonight's vote, to me, is not about rezoning. It's about honoring a contract that we've entered into. We have entered into a contract 3 times with them.
Yeah, with different plans every time.
Right, it's not just about.
Hey, this isn't your discussion. I'm not going.
Hey, your wages, it is
You
our
represent
discussion.
us. Hey,
Folks,
Hey,
don't interrupt the meeting, please. Let them do their jobs, okay?
so at the end of the day, and I'm not saying I like this development or anything else, I haven't had a vote in this.
Right.
And 3 of the people up here haven't had a vote, but 3 of the people up here have, and they voted for all this. And now it's time to make a decision. Are you going to honor the contracts that this village has entered into or not? And if you don't, there's obviously going to be legal ramifications.
Right.
And I get that. At the end of the day, this man came in here and negotiated at the last meeting, and I know things went south long before that because I was one of them here who wasn't happy with them, with your representatives. I got into it with them. But at the end of the day, at the last council meeting, we sit there, is there anything else you want in this agreement? Anything. Sit in that room right there 2 weeks ago. And someone brought up, I believe it was you, Andrea, about runoff water. And that was put into the agreement. Sarah agreed with that. She said, yeah, I'm for that too. That was put into the agreement. That's part of the agreement in front of everybody. This is where we're at. Kicking it down the road isn't going to do anything. I think it's time to make a decision.
And if I may, I mean, I did try to work on red lines with you because I knew that the village had a contract. And I just want to say that whatever the vote is, it's not personal. But everyone up here has to do what they think is right. So that's all I have to say.
Anybody else?
Say we vote.
Okay, at this point in time, is there a motion to adopt ordinance number 2024-03? Motion's gone. Died due to a lack of a motion. Moving on. Next item we have is resolution 14-2025. I would say that we withdraw this. This will be withdrawn from the agenda because this
Yes.
no longer pertains.
Do we need to make a motion to withdraw it?
Yes.
Motion to withdraw
Have a motion to-
2025.
Motion to withdraw resolution 14
Guys,
Can you please,
Hey,
we still got a meeting going on.
do we have a motion to withdraw resolution 14-2025 by Eric?
Second.
I have a second by Ross. Roll call vote to withdraw the motion.
Nancy,
I'm sorry, withdraw the resolution.
yes.
Sarah,
Yes.
Andrea,
Yes.
Jay,
Yes.
Eric,
yes.
Ross.
Yes, thank you.
Motion passed. Next item up, resolution 13-2025, a resolution authorizing and directing the mayor to enter a service agreement with Flock Group Incorporated to provide camera services for the police department.
Does this need to be emergency?
Doesn't have to be an emergency. If you want to waive the readings, that's fine.
So do we need to make a motion to waive before we vote on it then?
Mhm.
I'll make a motion to waive the readings of 13-2025.
Okay, we have a motion by Eric to waive their 3 readings.
Second.
Second by Nancy. Roll call vote to waive the 3 readings.
Andrea,
Yes.
Jay,
Yes.
Sarah,
Yes.
Eric,
Yes.
Ross.
Yes.
Nancy.
Yes.
Motion passed. Do we have a motion to adopt resolution 13-2025?
Motion.
Motion by Andrea. Is there a second? Second by Jay. Roll call vote to adopt.
Sarah,
Yes.
Eric,
Yes.
Ross,
Yes.
Nancy,
Yes.
Jay,
Yes.
Andrea.
Yes.
Excellent.
Motion passed. Next item up, resolution 12-2025. A resolution adopting a statement of services for proposed annexation of 344.391 plus or minus acres from Scioto Township to the village of Commercial Point and declaring an emergency.
Motion to suspend.
Can I have a question before we do that?
Discussion?
Yes. We can't provide services unless they do the agreed work. So how does that work? If we say we can give them services and they don't do the work, we can't give them sewer services. So I'm just out of ignorance. I need to have that explained, how that works. Because if they build without doing the sewer, we don't have the capacity, correct?
We are saying that we have the capacity.
Do we? Without
Yes.
the sewer main?
Yes,
Okay.
we have the capacity. They have to get it there.
Okay, so I just
That's
wanted
what you're
clarification.
looking at with
Okay,
that.
thank
That's
you.
exactly what you're looking at with that. I would remind everybody, with what we just went through, this here, you're obligating the village to supply water and sewer to a residential development of 344 acres.
Mhm.
If you don't want to do this, now is the time you do this stuff. So we don't go through this stuff like we just did.
Is this the one that was gonna put in the lift station though?
No.
Well,
Well, yes.
Yes, this is the one that's gonna put the whole
This
line.
was the Struckman area.
They're doing the $5 million worth of improvements. Did you do a motion?
Actually, two of them we talked about was going to
I
do
did.
lift
Oh, I'm
station.
sorry.
Okay.
But this is what, yes, they have to install a lift station in order to before they can open their first door.
Because of the ORC, this requires action
Right.
to be taken.
We have 20 days, is that what it
Within
is?
20 days, absolutely. So we have to waive the readings and then vote.
So
So
therefore,
we definitely want to waive the readings. But I'm saying if you don't want to vote this this
Right.
place, that's when you do it. But we need to waive the readings because we
Amen.
have to turn this into the county commissioners within 20
I'll
days.
make a motion.
I made a motion.
Ross has a motion to suspend the readings. Is there a second to waive?
Second.
Second by Eric. Roll call vote to suspend the readings.
Ross,
Yes.
Eric,
Yes.
Jay,
Yes.
Andrea,
Yes.
Sarah,
Yes.
Nancy.
Yes.
Motion passed to suspend the readings. Now, is there a motion to adopt resolution 12-25?
So moved.
Have a motion by Ross
Second.
and a second by Eric. Once again, I want you to be very serious about this because you're saying that you're going to accept a 300-acre development into this village.
Mhm.
That's a
Roll call vote.
20-year building.
Jay,
Yes.
Sarah,
Yes.
Ross,
Yes.
Eric,
Yes.
Nancy,
No.
Andrea.
No.
Okay, 4 yeas, 2 against.
Mhm.
The motion passes. Pending administrative action is up next. We have a resolution 11-2025, a resolution to increase the sewer fund appropriations within the 2025 permanent budget.
Was this the 2 million that we were getting from the loan?
Yes,
Oh, okay. Motion to,
motion to adopt the
Yeah,
resolution by Eric. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Jay. Roll call vote to adopt.
Nancy,
Yes.
Jay,
Yes.
Andrea,
Yes.
Ross,
Yes.
Sarah,
Yes.
Eric.
yes.
Motion passed. Additional business. I've got one item. The fire department stopped in today. They would like to use village property in the center of town for their flower sale and mulch sale, if that's okay.
Oh,
I told them they
yeah,
have to
please.
fill out the paperwork and it has to be approved by council because they're using village property.
is that a week before Mother's Day or something?
I think it's Mother's Day when they do it or for a week, maybe before and after. Is that it?
Yeah, we can.
And there's no fees for that, right, that we need to waive?
We don't charge for street
Okay.
closures or use of property.
I just want to make sure we didn't need to waive the fees.
No, we're good with that. If council's okay, then I need a motion to allow them to use village
Motion
property.
to allow.
Don't they have to do the application before we adopt or give it? to them?
Well, I found out today and at the next meeting, we wanted to get this through tonight.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, there will be an application on file.
I'll
You just-
second it.
Okay.
Thank you.
I have a motion by Audrea, second by Nancy. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passed.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Have a motion to adjourn by Eric, second by Audrea. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passed. This meeting is adjourned.
All of them.